Hey, brothers and sisters in faith, I want to welcome you back to Jesus Action Ministries. I'm Ezekiel Thomas, the founder of Jesus Action Ministries, and I wanted to follow up today on another segment of our ongoing conversation about grievance-centered thinking. I personally believe that there can be physical prisons just as there can be spiritual prisons. And the grievance-driven mind, the mind that is obsessed with grievances, is a mind that's obsessed with bitterness. It's a mind that is obsessed with complaint. It is a mind that is unable to see what is possible because it's constantly pondering the restrictions and limitations that surrounds it. And this is personal for me because I not only grew up in a underprivileged community, in poverty, with a lack of opportunities and a lack of resources. But I grew up in an environment where people were in a sort of spiritual prison. There was a sort of spiritual poverty that was simultaneous with the environmental challenges that we faced. And I persisted in that prison for many, many years. That prison led me to a physical prison. It led me to become cold and callous towards the world. It led me to justify and rationalize criminal behavior towards other people. So breaking free of the grievance-driven mindset and explaining its nuances is personal to me because I know what it feels like to be in that prison. And I know that one of the things that Christ came to do was to free people from prisons, to break chains, to give people an opportunity to experience a different kind of freedom that comes from a different kind of knowledge and a different kind of understanding of how the world functions and how the world operates. I believe that bitterness and grievance-centered thinking has become a spiritual epidemic. I believe this is one of the reasons why the culture in which we live in, it seems so calloused, so numb to people and to relationships, why it's easy for people to do and commit crimes towards other people, why it's easy for them to commit acts of violence and acts of harm against others. So this is not just an isolated issue. When we're talking about grievance-centered, because I believe fundamentally there's only two types of mindsets, those that are purpose-driven, as we spoke about, and those that are grievance-driven. And that purpose-driven mind is one that's rooted in gratitude, it's rooted in redemption. It's also rooted in an understanding that good is possible, that the law of good is a real thing that operates in the world, and that in the end, good will win. The grievance-driven mindset is a little bit different. It is rooted in trauma. It is rooted in pain. And when we talk about trauma, we're talking about pain that alters the natural function of a thing, right? So you have physical trauma that injures the body, but then you can have psychological and emotional trauma that injures the mind. It injures the way we believe the world operates. It injures our ability to trust people. It injures our ability to believe that good is possible. That grievance-driven mentality is rooted in that kind of trauma. Trauma stemming from interpersonal relationships where someone has become the victim of abuse or mistreatment by someone else. That someone could have been a parent, that someone could have been a friend, that someone could have been someone in that person's life where they let down their guards and allowed themselves to be vulnerable. And in that vulnerable moment, they were betrayed. And from that experience, they project outward. They develop a worldview. Now everyone in the world is suspect. 6 billion people are indicted. 6 billion people are now held with suspicion because 6 people hurt them. This is how the grievance-driven mindset works. This is how it develops into a prison where the person is now seeing the world beyond his or her experiences through these filters, through these bias, through these preconceived notions that may be or may not even be real. And How do you heal something like that? How do you address that kind of apprehension? How do you address that kind of prejudice in someone's mind? How do you get rid of those stereotypes and get rid of these preconceived notions of who and what people are? Well, there's only one way to do that, and that's God. In order to heal the grievance-driven mind, the mind has to experience a different understanding of what it means to be a human being. The mind has to experience a different understanding of what the world is. It can no longer operate in the isolated confines of its own experiences. It has to transcend those experiences. And what Christ brought in the Bible, what we find in the Bible, is Christ transcends the human experience. He connects heaven to earth. He becomes the bridge between heaven and earth, and all of a sudden we are able to see a cosmic reality that transcends our personal experience, right? So for someone who has experienced trauma, for someone who has experienced pain, for someone who has experienced abuse and mistreatment, there is a cosmic law that Christ reveals that's operating in all of those experiences, that's operating in the timeless nature of our reality, right? The beyond the confines of time, that is bringing everything to a point of excellence and bringing everything to a point of peace and a point of God's justice and love. When we are aware of this cosmic reality and we are aware of this cosmic truth, our grievances, they disappear. We begin to see that the world is not as bad as we think it is. We begin to see that people can be trusted, and there is a context for that trust. We begin to see that God is not evil, that God has not betrayed us, that God has not inflicted on us circumstances that's beyond our capacity to handle, because we realize that there is a cosmic law that's operating in our best interest and that will bring all things to fruition, the fruition of perfection, love, grace, and truth. So I wanted to add that as we begin to still delve into this topic. I'll try to unpack more of this mindset and how to heal it and how to be free from it, and why it is so important for us as Christians to embark on this campaign to liberate people from this mental prison. So it's been a pleasure and an honor to meet you again today and to have this discussion with you. I look forward to future content. Thank you.